Hello everybody, it's Josie here. I'm going to be doing a one book review, so a smash or trash review on a brand new released book. The book I'm going to be talking about today is All the Bad Apples by Moira Fowley Doyle. Keep saying that wrong. And I've obviously dressed to sort of match the book, as you can tell. So first of all, speaking about matching the book, how gorgeous is this cover? I have to say, I saw the cover and I was like, ooh, I want to know what that's about, because it really was absolutely stunning. It's just such a beautiful cover, the colours, and then there's kind of branch detail wraps around on the back as well. And what I also love about this cover is that every bit of the detail that's in here makes sense with what's in the book. So when you read the book, and I highly recommend you do, when you read the book, you will kind of tie everything that's in here on the cover into the story, which I think is really good, because I have had some books in the past where covers have been gorgeous, beautiful, they were lovely to look at, absolutely nothing to do with the storyline. You're kind of left wondering who came up with the cover and why, because it had nothing to do with the book, which I suppose is fine, but I prefer it to have some sort of correlation to what you're reading, and this cover definitely does, and it's gorgeous, so, you know, perfect, right? Also, the other thing that attracted me to this book was obviously the synopsis and the story, but what also attracted me, before we get into the story, is the author. So, Moira Fowley Doyle, I read one of her books last year, The Spellbook of the Lost and Found, which I just adore. And then I read one of her short stories in an anthology, beginning of the month actually, and I loved it. I didn't realize it was her. I read the story and I was like, oh wow, this is one of my favorite stories in this anthology, and then I realized who the author was, and I was like, oh. And then I saw she had a new book out, so I was like, well, I have to read this now, because two things I've read by her I've really adored. I've actually now gone and ordered her first book as well, so I will be doing an author spotlight, because I think she deserves it, because I think she's fabulous. But today, let's just talk about All the Bad Apples. So this book is, me being me first of all, is a queer book. So the main character, Dina, in this book is a lesbian. She's queer. She comes out in the first couple of pages in the book, and that, I'm not giving anything away, that's actually said in the synopsis, is that she comes out to her sister Rachel, but she inadvertently also comes out to her father. This book is set in Dublin, in Ireland, in 2012. There is an author's note in the back of this book. So this book really talks about religion. It talks about religion and Catholicism and religion in Ireland, and how that affects people's thinking, and superstition. It also talks obviously very heavily about being gay and what that means in a very religious society. And then it also talks very heavily about pregnancy and pregnancy out of wedlock and teenage pregnancy, and again how that translates to a very conservative religious setting and country. So the 2012 setting of this book is very relevant, and when you read the author's note at the back, you'll realise why. I don't necessarily want to say, because it might spoil some of the events that happen in the book. But just know that there is a trigger warning here, so about abuse. There is an incident of rape. It's not graphic, but that is there. Child abuse, definitely. Religious views on being queer, on having children out of wedlock. So all of those, but those themes are so beautifully explored and so wonderfully written, and really written from a perspective. Moira is an Irish author. I think she's half Irish, half French. She lives in Dublin in Ireland, so she very much understands the climate and the views that she's talking about in this book. So you have Dina, who's your main character. She lives with her elder sister, Rachel, who's sort of 17 years older than she is. Quite a few, yeah, about 17 years older than she is. And she also, Rachel also has a twin sister called Mary. Is it Mary? Mandy, sorry, that's really bad. Her twin sister's called Mandy, and she does not live with Dina and Rachel. Now, Dina and Rachel live in their father's house. Like I said, their father is very religious. He is very strict. He is not a very nice man. But they live in this house because their mother died, and then their father left, and basically left Dina with Rachel. Rachel has been raising Dina ever since she was a child. So Dina's mother had Rachel and Mandy, and then 17 years later had Dina. So that's kind of where we start the story. what then happens is that sort of on the same day, or at the same time where Dina comes out to her father and to her sister, she goes to see her other sister Mandy, and it's Dina's 17th birthday. And, you know, Mandy has a gift for her, and she tells Mandy that this happened. And Mandy kind of says, oh my goodness, you know, this is really bad. You're going to be seen as one of the bad apples in our family tree. And then she starts to talk about a curse on the family. The next day, Mandy is missing, and they don't know what happened to her. And that's really kind of what kicks off the rest of the story. So what you have in this book is you're talking about their family lineage. You know, Dina and some friends go and they uncover what has happened in the past about their family line, about the secrets. There's a lot of kind of secrets and things. There's some I guessed, some I didn't necessarily guess. There's also a beautiful, you know, there's this constant discussion of, you know, female oppression, of, you know, the way religion sees unwed mothers, again about queerness. It's beautiful, but it's deep. It's got that kind of magical realism element to it because of this curse that Mandy believes is on the family, and this idea of breaking this curse of the bad apples. There is also a beautiful romance, a female-female romance between Dina and someone in this book, which is really lovely. And I also adore Dina's best friend. I think his name is Finn, if I remember correctly. It might not be, but I think it's Finn. He's very sweet, and he supports her, which is wonderful, and he accepts her for who she is. There's also a little bit of discussion around at her school, again, a very conservative Catholic school, and how people react to her being gay. So there's discussion on that in it. But I just think that Moira handles all of these topics in such a beautiful, tender but hard-hitting at the same time. So, you know, it really makes you think about it. It really makes you think of how you feel about these things, how you feel about abortion, how you feel about you know, religion, how you feel about, you know, how that influences, you know, separation of state and religion. And it is a very thought-provoking but also beautiful, tender, lovely book about family, about love, and about, again, acceptance and accepting who you are. And it has that magical realism element in it as well, which I really love. So this for me is kind of like an all-round incredible book. I absolutely adored it. I loved it as much as I loved Spellbook of the Lost and Found. I think this one is a little bit more hard-hitting because of the topics that are discussed in it. Whereas Spellbook of the Lost and Found is probably slightly more, a little bit more, I mean, there were also deeper topics discussed in that, but maybe just a little bit more kind of fun, quote unquote. But this one is beautiful. Her writing is gorgeous. I love her writing style. It is lyrical, but not annoyingly so. I think she has a very beautiful style of writing, and it really transports you and tells the story in a really gorgeous way. I absolutely 100% adore this book, 100% recommend it if that's anything that you're interested in, if those are any themes that you want to read. I 100% recommend it. This is a 5 out of 5. One of my favorite books of the year so far. It's definitely going, you know, I don't think anything is gonna, this is gonna go on the list of my favorite books of the year, definitely. And you can see how many tabs I've got on the side there as well. So I loved it. I'm probably going to include this in a reread as well. And like I said, I will do an author spotlight on Moira because I think she's fantastic. So 5 out of 5, absolute smash. Yeah, I recommend it. Read it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Let me know if you do. I'd love to know. And let me know if you've got anything similar to recommend that you think I might like. And I will speak to you all again very soon. Cheers.